Crypto market recovers as a Bitcoin hits $38,000. But are these gains sustainable? In this video, guys, we're going to be diving down into the data of Bitcoin to take a look at what has been going on with the price action of BTC. We've seen the price move up, we've seen it pull back down. Which way is more sustainable? What do we think is actually going to be happening in the short term, the medium, and the long term? Guys, as we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe. Tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you are going to be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all of that said, done, and out of the way, let's jump on down into the desktop and take a look at what is going on here with BTC. Okay, guys, we're going to be starting things off with our hourly view here, and we're really going to go talk about what's going on recently, what we expect to happen in the short term, etc. Now, we have actually got a relatively flat kind of correction going on here with BTC, Bitcoin, and we're actually really close to invalidation. I think this is probably going to be invalidated, maybe even by the time this video goes out, right? So we have a really low stochastic RSI, and we were actually looking to move this ABC move down in this kind of zigzag pattern towards $35,000. Obviously, invalidation point comes in at 38,900. Obviously, you can see that we got this B wave high, but it didn't actually break the A wave starting position. So we know that it is very much a zigzag. We are thinking downward trend, but that stochastic RSI is not going to support that move unless, of course, we only have a very small blip to the upside here, fail to break this this resistance at 38,900, and then, of course, do have that correction come down to 35k. That's very possible. It's all about how quickly this stochastic RSI is going to move to the upside, okay? Whether or not there's going to be some price movement behind it, or whether or not it actually just continues to kind of just trade sideways in here and then collapse down, okay? So we're looking for that. We are looking for completion here, or invalidation. We're very, very close to that on these this smaller time frame. Now, ultimately, if we actually go ahead and remove that, we can, of course, acknowledge that there's a lot of different choppy moves going on here. We have our A, B, C here, this being a very, very, very flat kind of move. We have our ABC to the upside, again slightly overextended this time, but you have your ABC just up here, and this actually led us down into another move here with an A, B, and C. Again, nothing too major, and again we have more choppiness here with an A, B, C up, and then we go into the kind of sideways trading, and again, right where we are here, we have our move here up, and then A, B, and waiting for downside or waiting for upside. Okay, so as I kind of bring this all back in, this all kind of leads into this kind of thought pattern here as to what is going on. Now, if this is in fact at this point here an A, a B, and a C up, what does that mean? Does that mean that this this kind of slightly larger, bigger picture is invalidated or not, right? So obviously Bitcoin moving up to $38,000, it has seen some recovery in various different altcoins, etc. But we need to be very aware that if this does break this level of resistance and we do push on higher, that's going to have a pretty good effect on the altcoins, and you're going to see a little bit more traction there. But it doesn't actually take away from the bigger picture, and I'll get into that in a moment. Now, this C wave on the smaller time frame here, this push up with an A, a B wave down to this low point here, actually pushes us up towards 39,178. So if we actually see a like-to-like ratio with our A and a C here, that's the most probable area that we're going to push up to here in the next little kind of while, and that would actually effectively invalidate this $35,000 move and would raise up our stochastic RSI. Okay, so ultimately that's kind of like what we're looking at on our smaller time frame. We're looking at one of two things. We're either looking to invalidate the move to $35,000, which is very much on the horizon right now, and if we do, where is the most probable area we're going to find additional resistance? That's going to be around that $39,178 range. Okay, so obviously here we can I appreciate the fact that I'm saying it could go down or it could go up. I appreciate that. But ultimately what we're doing here is actually saying what's the most probable, right? When we actually had our big ABC area before we had that push yesterday, this was basically leading us to showing us a $35,000 Bitcoin. That was the most probable area. As more data's come in here, we can also acknowledge that that stochastic RSI being in the position that it is could lead us into this area here of pushing us to $39,000, right? And obviously from that point, you would look at an ABC down, okay, some form of corrective action to the downside that actually then starts to see us, wipe that stochastic RSI out once again. Okay, so on the smaller time frame, things are looking pretty good and pretty interesting here for Bitcoin. If we go up, obviously expect a lot of green for the altcoins as well, as money starts to flow in, a little bit more confidence kind of flowing into the market. If of course we go down into this low area here, $35,000, and potentially lower, that's actually aligned to the bigger picture of what we expect to go on as well. And of course, as we were saying, you would expect an ABC here to the downside. This you'd see an ABC up, okay? One way or another, I think you're also going to converge on the same kind of area in the end, okay? Whether we go up, we're going to pull back down, or whether we go down and we're going to pull back up, we're going to end up in a relatively similar area, no matter which way we actually go, okay? And obviously now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up into the larger timeframes and talk about what I think is likely to happen on the medium term, and then we're going to go into the long term as well. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that daily view. There's a little bit of noise here now because we've obviously been kind of drawing on here quite a bit. Let me just remove stuff so you can kind of get a bit of a flavor as to what's going on, and I'll put it back on in a second. So obviously we can see here that we had the all-time high of 65k, the lows of 28k, 67k, and 69k. Okay, so we had those three kind of peaks that we've seen here, right? Obviously we have good kind of motion to the upside. This entire thing, I believe, is actually a big A, B, and C. Even though we actually went up a little bit higher here, this zigzag pattern, that is allowed, but I don't think this is actually going to allow us to drop down too much further, although possible that we could actually drop down lower than 28k. I don't think that's probable. I think actually we're going to find really good support on $31,000. This is an area that I've been speaking about quite a bit, and again, if we actually just drill down into this area, what do we have here? We have a B wave low before going into a C wave high. We also have an ABC low here, and we also have a C low here as well. All of these areas are coming in at around the $31,000 range, right? So we have a little bit of consensus in the same way that we did earlier when we were talking about $37,000, right? Before we started to see that significant pullback, and we actually saw ourselves consolidating around that $37,000. And again, everything was converging on that area. Now, obviously, as I kind of zoom out here, there's a lot of information, right? Obviously, we have our head and shoulder pattern, the breakdown here of that neckline, all that kind of stuff that we've spoken about before, that I was actually hoping that we'd actually bounce from. But in reflection, obviously we do have, the zigzag pattern that seems to be playing out now. So that's pretty good to bring some confidence into the market. Obviously, you can see the C wave high up there, basing this on basically an A wave here, effectively moving up in an impulsive way, which is really important and key to understand. Okay, so we have 5 waves moving up, and this is from the low area of 28k, right? So when Bitcoin pulled down from $65,000 down to $28,000, effectively what you had was a start of an impulsive move, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 wave counts. This actually then leads us into the corrective action where we are right now, effectively a large ABC move. Okay, so you can see that here with an A, a B, and a C. And then obviously what you have at this point is $31,000, right? So in completion of a like-to-like ratio with our A wave and our C wave, $31,000 is the area that we're aiming for. Okay, and this is important that it's an ABC and that it's not impulsive. And we can see that it's not impulsive because we've overlapped with the wave counts, right? So we know that this is a nice steady push down in an ABC function. Now this is important because when we have 5 waves up and 3 waves down, we're looking for 5 waves up next. Okay, so although I've got this labeled as an ABC up into new all-time highs, that C wave could turn impulsive, effectively if we go past that 1.382, and effectively what that will mean is that we're expecting 5 waves in that next leg, 3 waves down, and then another 5 waves up. Okay, so where we are right now is effectively a wave 2 area, like an ABC correction, if you will. Obviously too soon to really call it, but that's kind of what we're looking at on a bigger picture, which is, absolutely massive if we start thinking about, what kind of price this could potentially take BTC to. I think we are likely to be over $100,000 if that does turn impulsive. So overall, on our daily chart, we are of course overbought, so we are expecting and aligning to a $31,000 BTC. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm thinking here. So yes, we have some push to the upside potentially on the horizon on the smaller time frames. The medium time frame is, however, looking down at $31,000. As we of course go up into our weekly, we have something very different. We obviously have our zigzag pattern here coming down towards $31,000, and of course we have the oversold stochastic RSI. So although we are of course oversold on our hourly, overbought on our on our daily, oversold on our weekly, obviously you don't have consensus in terms of the momentum behind the price, but what we do have here is some interesting patterns that are aligning all together across various different timelines at very key levels. $31,000 seems to be a most probable area for some significant push to the upside, which we are looking to turn impulsive on the smaller time frame. Really important that that actually happens. Here, of course, on our weekly chart, we actually have this kind of getting really close to the bottom. So I do feel that we're getting very, very close to finishing this move. And then, of course, from here, we are going to be looking at that impulsive break to the upside, hopefully completing this fifth wave. Obviously, the most probable area, or at least the minimum kind of area for a fifth wave is a 1.618. That would be $114,000. But obviously, you know, there's lots of areas on that journey to the upside that we need to be very aware of and cautious of. Okay, so ultimately, we're looking pretty good here for Bitcoin. Lots of kind of interesting areas that Bitcoin could also hit in the very near future as well. So kind of going back to, you know, what we were talking about at the very beginning of the video. Yes, the crypto market, it has seen some recovery. Is this sustainable? I don't think that the short time frame it is sustainable, but on the longer term frame, I do think that we are in a very good position, and I think we're getting very close to actually reaching the bottom at $31,000. That could lead Bitcoin and the alts into some fantastic new all-time highs. I do expect 2022 to be a fantastic year. No, I do not think that we are in a bear market. I think we're in a bearish phase. We're in a corrective pattern. There is nothing here impulsive indicating that we're on a long-term trend down. Instead, we actually have pretty good progression. Now, of course, we can jump into a little bit more data. We actually have a look at Glassnode, and Glassnode is indicating exactly what I've just articulated, that we are not in a bear market. In fact, we are in a phase of correction where accumulation is happening. I've spoken about this a lot, and as we can see, we had another 44,500 Bitcoin leave exchanges yesterday as well. And I know there's lots of different reasons for this. It could be that people who are, you know, hodlers by nature are more than willing to kind of hodl and continue to hodl, but that's not necessarily what I'm seeing. Specifically, when we actually take a look at one of the other reports that I really like, which is the hodl waves, and the hodl waves are actually indicating to us that we aren't seeing any kind of major moves with people who have been hodling previously, i.e. they're still kind of holding very similar percentages across those time periods. They haven't really changed. Day on day, this hasn't actually fluctuated too much, which means there's new accumulation going on rather than just historical accumulation. This is really important because obviously as more and more Bitcoin leaves the exchanges, there's less and less supply should the public and the retail investors actually decide to jump back in to the markets. Obviously, we are not talking about long positions and short positions or leverage positions or anything like that. Obviously, we class that as gambling because effectively you're kind of showing your cards to the dealers as well, and gambling whether the price is going up or going down. No, we're talking about actually buying an asset, holding an asset, and then choosing whether to store that into cold storage, trade it actively, or, you know, just hold it for a long period of time. And what we're actually seeing with physical Bitcoin on exchanges, it's decreasing. A lot of it is being accumulated. It's being taken off of the exchanges. Now, in a bear market, you actually tend to see more Bitcoin go on exchanges overall. You don't tend to find that you're actually seeing Bitcoin you know, come off exchanges whilst the price is going down. You see the opposite. You see the basically panic selling, you know, retail investors selling at a loss, all that kind of stuff. That's the usual kind of thing that you would expect to see. But yet inside of our Glassnode data, we actually see more Bitcoin leaving. Now, obviously, I did this the other day. I just zoom on out here, and we'll just take a look at what was going on in 2016, 17, right? So when we start thinking about what a bear market looks like across these years, all that green is Bitcoin going on to exchanges. Okay, that's bear market. Okay, this is bull run. We are not seeing similar data yet. We are not in the bear market, in my opinion. The data does not suggest that. Guys, I'm going to leave the video there. I do think that Bitcoin's in a really good, strong position. I think it's going to come down a little bit lower, more accumulation, and then we're going to go on to all-time highs. If you have found this video useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then do go ahead and subscribe. Tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you are going to be kept up to date with all of the videos that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With that said, done and out of the way, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.